Kelly, Janine, and Rick. All right.
Perfect. Rick, can you lead us in the flag salute, please?
The flag's right in the back of the room.
Flags in the back of the room, folks, please. Let's all stand. Place your hand over our heart. Let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll be thankful that we have a flag to salute here with all the things going on around us. Welcome to the meeting tonight.
All right, so next we have our public comments portion. This portion of the meeting is set aside for any member of the public to address the board. They can bring any matter that's not currently listed on the agenda. And you have 3 minutes to speak about anything that you like. Sorry, 1 second. We got a call. We're kind of on a holiday too. We forgot. How long is going to be your first saves number?
I know. Okay, let's see. Hey, Josh. Hey, we're getting ready to start our meeting. I'll put you on speaker. Hey. All right, there we go.
All right, perfect. Do any of the members of the public would like to address the board? Now's your chance. Perfect. Thank you. We're going to do our community leaders report. No Kern County Sheriff. Higher Patrol.
Sure. Start off, my name is RMAC with CHP here in Mojave. For those who don't know me, just a brief update. We just got 3 new cadets or 3 new officers from our academy. They just started last week, so this is their 2nd week, so we're excited to have them here. With that said, we are losing a couple people out of the office to transfers out to other offices. So it come give and take, right? But we did get 3, so that's exciting news. We recently also held a DUI sobriety and driver's license checkpoint down in Roseman on May 31st. So not too about 3 weeks ago now. So that was successful for us, and we also held several DUI roving details in the Rosemond area on or about that time, just for some extra enforcement down here. Looking specifically, those details are specifically for impaired drivers. Speaking of impaired drivers, we also have the privilege of attending the MAD Awards over in Bakersfield. If you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, we shared that. 4 of our officers, we had a couple more, but they transferred. 4 of our officers were honored in receiving those from the MAD organization, which is Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which requires 25 arrests a year to get that award, a minimum of 25. And if you think of that 25, that's actually a lot of time goes into each one of those, because that's not only the investigation and the booking time, but that's also the report writing and the court time. So it's many hours goes into each one of those. And some of our guys had quite a bit more than 25. And this year we're actually on track to have a greater impact than we did last year even. So things are looking up as far as DUI enforcement in our area, and DUI crashes are statistically declining. So we see that correlation a little bit. We also had, I think since this last meeting, we've had the Memorial Day MEP, the maximum enforcement period. So everyone was working. Even the lieutenant was out there working, patrolling our roads. So we had a whole bunch of people. Our scales facility, all those guys were out there. So you may have seen a whole bunch of us that weekend, that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out. We had a good number of people, and also made several arrests during that weekend as well. If you also follow us on social media, you've also seen us post a few pictures and a couple articles about our specially marked patrol vehicle. I think that's what they were asking about. It's our new Dodge Durango. We're one of the first in the state to receive one, and basically what it is ours is a more or less a gray Durango with gray decals on the side, and its intended purpose is for road rage, reckless driving, speeding, stuff like that. that causes the primary causes of crashes. Because everyone knows when you see a black and white, people traditionally slow down, then as soon as we take the off ramp, people speed up again. But with this out there, they may not necessarily recognize it immediately as a patrol vehicle, so they can see people behaving in their natural, behaving naturally. So it's been very effective. They've made some arrests out of it, and he's been very effective out here. In fact, it's not from our area, but it's still a cool video to show how it's being used. We shared on our Instagram page, in our stories. I believe it was South LA, a video from their specially marked patrol vehicle of a car in and out of traffic speeding, and in the end they end up arresting him. And he has no idea that it's being followed by a police car. So it's a useful tool for us out here to curb road rage and things like that. Hopefully it makes people think twice, you know. They may not recognize it, so maybe, he might be here, let's slow down. Because we don't want people getting hurt, and you know, we just want to keep our roads calm and safe so everybody gets home safe.
You know, I had firsthand knowledge. I was going to Mojave today, and he was slowing down and making a turn to go back the other way. And I didn't until he made that turn and I came up beside. I didn't know it was a CHP.
Yeah,
Very easy to do.
it's kind of cool. Yeah, if you want to see pictures of it, look on our Facebook or Instagram page, even on X, and you can check out pictures and see what we're using it for. With all that said, I do want to add one thing. With summer coming, some summer driving tips for everybody. If you can also remind your neighbors too. We all know it's getting hot out, and we're finding a lot of people traveling in between, maybe here and go on here into Tehachapi. You know, they get stuck in traffic, their car breaks down, they get a flat tire, something happens, and we find a lot of people that don't have water in their car for themselves and or coolant for their vehicle themselves. So we're asking everybody, please take care of your cars and take care of yourselves too. Don't forget that extra water bottles in the car, so that if something happens, you have some resources where you can hydrate yourselves and not be overcome by the heat, because we're starting to see more of that. A lot of cars breaking down, and tow trucks can sometimes take a long time, especially when it gets busy during the summer, so keep that in mind. With that said, that's a very brief and fast update of our area. We're just happy to be here.
Thank you.
So,
Yes, sir.
So nationally, like, alcohol consumption is down. Do you have any study that shows like how correlation between that and like DUI arrests?
I don't. That'd be
interesting
something
to
I have to do some research on. I know here our DUI arrests locally are up.
Wow.
And then our crashes, last time I looked this up, everything was correlating down. So, but DUI arrests are up compared to last year at this time. So.
And then to your last point, so we were
Yes.
actually on our way on vacation last month, and we had a blowout on the freeway to Vegas, 20 miles outside the city, 5 hours for a tow truck. But I am like adamant, like my kids know now, hey, we live in the desert, do you have everything you need? Yeah, Dad, we have water.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, we've stopped. I see it because I think at Death Valley, we get a lot of tourists this time of year going to Death Valley, and it's really hot out there, and we'll stop them for speed. You have a conversation with them, and they've only got, you know, a single bottle of water. It's like, you need to plan better for this. So we just encourage everybody, I don't know, lots of water this time of year, and keep your car safe too, lots of coolant, and make sure it's taken care of. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's do Miss Karen Sanders from Supervisor Perlier's office.
All right. Hot water is better than no water. Seriously. And that's what was one thing that we had our 2 children who got their driver's licenses out here. They had to, if they went anywhere, they had to have water in their car. Absolutely. So there's a lot of things happening. Many projects going on. I'll just hit some highlights from our Public Works report that we get every month. The Rosamond Median Safety Project is scheduled for this year, maybe next year, and it's to be built in spring of 2027. The Rosamond Boulevard Road Rehabilitation, it's 60% design plans in progress, and then construction on that is in 2026. And then the safety concerns on Rosamond Boulevard at 20th Street and Rosamond Boulevard. I have questions about this because I don't really understand. There is a project in design to install a raised concrete median between Glendower Street and Sierra Highway. And my question for Kim, since you're here, is that part of the median project already, or is that in addition to?
It's part of the project.
It's part of the
So
project.
they're not going to go in and do
Right.
They're not gonna do that because the raised median is going to solve that problem.
Right, that's what I thought, but I just thought
Now, the school itself, as long as it's out of the county's right of way, the school can install bollards on their property if they choose to, but we won't go in and put them in.
right, because that would be private property.
Yeah, because one of the things we were asking, we've had 2 cars go through hit the fence, and it's not a matter of if it's going to happen again, it's when it's going to happen again, and we were tackling the problem as a county problem. It's a county roadway problem, and we were told that originally we'd like the bollards like in front of the sidewalk, but we were told that because of cars hitting it. But me personally, I'd rather have a car get destroyed than a kid get killed on the playground. Is
Right.
my feeling.
But we're still responsible for the people on the road. So that's why some of your signs will collapse when they hit them, because they're designed that way. They're designed not to injure somebody when they hit them, and the bollards would really injure somebody if they ran into them. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I would rather somebody hit one of those than have a kid be hit, but we can't intentionally endanger our citizens.
Right. So and in fact, I was asking Karen when she was briefing me on this. We were originally told that this project's going to be like a 2-year project. So
it takes that long to get through right-of-way acquisitions, making sure that we have funding. Sometimes our funding, we apply for the funding and we don't actually have access to the funding for a while. So there are a lot of factors and it takes a long time. It can take up to 2 or 3 years for a project like this.
So that's why we were looking at the ballers up against the fence, seeing if the county would pay for the ballers and if the school would allow us to put them on their property, because now we're gonna have 3 years to where, I hate to come back here next year and say, hey, you know what, if we would have put ballers up, that kid wouldn't have been killed on the playground. Is what I don't want to see happen.
You understand what she's saying now?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So.
They can't put target balls in front of the fence. That's what I think.
On the school's property, they can, the
Yeah.
schools they can put it on their property if they want to.
Yeah.
We can't put it in our right of way.
Okay. The Rosemont Community Building is set to, the contract's supposed to be awarded in July and construction completed in December. And then the Rosemont Park restroom is supposed to be completed by September. And then the library, I've heard a lot of hue and cry about the library being closed, and I'm really sorry, but it's gonna be a nice renovated building and it should be open again by the end of September. So even though it's closed for the summer, there are activities here at Hummel Hall. The Mohawk, yes. Yeah, there should be more in July. I believe so. I mean, there's still, I haven't double checked, but I believe there should be activities in July and again in August until they're ready to move back into the library. But the Mojave Library, which isn't that far away, is nicely renovated and they have services there for Kern County residents, library card holders. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. We have a new county supervisor brochure if you're interested in having a copy. This has some important county numbers in it for local services and how to get in touch with the office. So I'll have these available for you, and other than that, it's good to see everybody.
Thank you.
The pool's been awesome.
I'm so glad to hear that the pool has been awesome.
Yeah, we've gone twice.
Good deal.
All right. Chamber of Commerce is not here. They did have elections. I will say that I'm very proud to announce that my wife is the new president of the Chamber of Commerce, Shauna Downs. It's exciting. RCSD. Mr. Webb, you have anything to share for RCSD?
I can, there's nothing going on at the district yet. I did hear from one of the staffers there that, I'm trying to think of the house builder, Horton, I think DR Horton. 200 houses are gonna be going in fire department, police department, 50 up in Holiday, I believe. 250 houses going in. They're gonna start breaking ground on that there. The district's well, we just finished our budget approval, going through there. We had a lighting assessment, we just finished that. So, like I tell the community all the time, the district's in a pretty good way. and they're working on a lot of things to continue to save the community money on their sewer and their water, and they're in a pretty good way. I think the general manager and the staff's done a really good job, and I'm proud of the things that they do, so we're not getting any surprises. But when something comes up that I think is bad news, I want us to know beforehand and not after the fact, so they keep us apprised of it. So that's what we have here, Mr. Chair.
Perfect, thank you, sir. The school district, library. Gretchen, do you have anything to share for Historical Society?
Well, we're not active this month or July or August, but in September, we will try to have a get-together out at the Slade Egg Ranch. Having the library closed has really made it challenging for us, but hopefully it'll be done in September so we can get back in. We've been trying to do a little bit of work in my barn to organize all the stuff I have.
Awesome, yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Fire department, do these developers get in touch with you folks when they start? I know they have to get a will serve letter, do they have water, they have to go to planning. Do you guys ever hear any of this conversation? Reason I'm asking, 250 homes with one fire truck and one rescue is not fair to you folks. And maybe we need to start a conversation that you folks, if they're gonna start trying to grow again, you folks need to be on the front end of the conversation, not on the back end. So I don't know, do you guys hear about these, or is it like kind of 11th hour that you find out about this?
Right, so to me, it sounds like you're talking kind of two separate issues. You're talking about fire protection services and water, right?
Well, I'm just talking about you guys being aware, 250 houses going in.
Not early in the process.
So typically, it'll go through planning, right? It probably wasn't zoned for residential, I'm guessing initially, so they put the precise development plan through planning, right? And that triggers everything. Once it goes through planning, we receive the package, right? As well as Public Works, building, everybody receives the package, so we know what's coming. Typically, we'll review that, and we'll put out a general response to that, basically saying that they need to meet the water access standards of the California Fire Code, and then we'll review further when we receive complete plans.
Okay.
So typically, we are aware
You're in
of
that
it
loop. You're in
on
the
the front end, yes, and the other county agencies are as well. So, because it'll trigger work for all of us, right? We all have our certain area, so we're in the loop very early on.
Fair enough, thank you.
Perfect, well, we're actually gonna call the fire department next, and we have asked you guys to come in and share some information. Please take the floor.
Okay. Yeah, so I was under the impression that the community had particular questions in regard to
We do.
water
Some of us
supply.
do, yes.
Do we want to go ahead and start with just the questions?
Yes.
I don't necessarily have a presentation per se, but I can answer your questions and concerns about water in regards to the fire we had out on Sweetster a few weeks ago.
Right.
I think that's what brought this about.
Yeah, Rick and I were talking, and what kind of concerned us, not with you guys are awesome out here, but when the fire happened, you had to go at least a mile away to get water. And then we were told that they're grandfathered in, and it's just kind of blowing our mind that the county would allow, or the process would allow somebody to be grandfathered in without having adequate water sources to put out fires. And then we're kind of wondering what we could do on our end, if there's other areas that we need to look at that bring up to advise the supervisor, hey, we got these rural areas that don't have water sources, bring it to his attention, and kind of concerned us that when we have a fire that you guys don't have a water source.
Right, absolutely. Water is a valid concern for the community and for us as well as the first responders. In that particular incident, looking at all the maps and the data, there's a 2-inch wharfhead hydrant just north of Roadrunner there that's fed by a tank. Very insufficient water supply. There was just a trickle while crews were on scene. So the nearest sufficient water supply was over by the school. So crews, typically in rural areas, we do a lot of training on what they call a tanker shuttle. Right, so when the first engine is empty of water, they'll locate the nearest hydrant, they'll fill up, they'll set a pre-connected hose, they'll return to the scene, and the next engine that's out of water will go, the hose is already laying on the ground, they can fill up, and we utilize that tanker shuttle. We can also call in water tenders. You are correct in saying that the houses over there are, I'll use your words, grandfathered in. So basically in the prevention world, we refer to that as pre-existing non-conforming. So it doesn't conform to the current standards. However, when those houses were built, and I did a little bit of research looking the most recent home I could find on that street, and I think it was a 6200 block, I believe was like 1988. And you also have some mobile homes, so those are harder to track when those were actually brought in and set up. So in '88, the fire code didn't have the same water standards that we utilize today. Currently, in residential development or a home, you need to have a fire hydrant within 660 feet of your residence. And out here, that's not feasible in those areas. If there was a new structure, single-family residence built kind of in that same area today, they would require residential fire sprinklers, which would trigger a minimum 3,500 gallon tank for fire suppression and to supply the fire sprinklers. So also looking at the hydrants, it looks like most of the hydrants in Rosamond proper cut off at 55th, right? There's a little section that cuts out on 57th, little tract there that has like 6 hydrants in there. To me, that looks like kind of the dead end. So my assumption is that the infrastructure basically stops at 57th for water. I don't work with the water company. Public Works might have a better idea on that, but
To a certain, not to cut it, but what happens is RCSD, their spareability once goes out to about 60th.
okay.
So that's why you have that kind of cut off. So wherever the homes are up there, the fire hydrants go out to that because that's the spear.
I didn't see anything quite out to 60th. I saw it basically cut off at 57, but I
Yeah,
can
so
do
that's
something on
the
map.
That's the housing
The
tract
district's
behind
very
the
little.
Right. Yep. So unfortunately for us, we can't go retroactive, right? It's pre-existing non-conforming. We have to operate within the current fire code. So whenever anything's built and it's built in that code, we can't change things to modify buildings unless they pull permits that would trigger us, right? So basically residential for the fire side, there's nothing really that they're gonna pull on a permit unless it's above a 90% remodel, right? That would trigger us. That would trigger residential fire sprinklers and the 3,500 gallon water tank. So as far as the fire department, I don't really have a solution to the problem of water in that area. I know we do have numerous areas throughout the county, the rural areas that are in the same situation. So now in the SRA, which is state responsibility area, if you were to build a home, that will trigger a water tank. And again, in the LRA, which is this area, it would trigger the water tank because of the residential fire sprinklers.
Now, let's say we were able to get grants or something like that to offset. What would be the minimum water storage tank that somebody would need to make a difference? How much water would you need to fire?
So it's kind of a vague question. Are you talking about one tank for a single family residence? Are you talking about a bigger tank for?
The bigger tank. You had mentioned there's a fire hydrant attached to the tank and this was completely insufficient. How can we make that?
Right, so there are fire flow requirements that we apply now. I don't have that data in front of me, but we can calculate that based on like occupancy type. Usually we do it more for commercial structures. So you take the type of construction, you take the square footage of the building, and you take the occupancy type. So basically what the building is going to be used for, and then there's calculations that are done that says it will need this amount of water for this duration of time to sufficiently suppress the fire. So it's going to vary, right? I know for just a single family home, residential fire sprinklers, 3,500 gallons is what they use. They'll use 1,500 basically for the sprinklers, 1,000 for just your common uses, right, domestic uses, and the residual would be for fire protection.
So please forgive me if I missed this earlier. Did you mention how big the tank is that's currently out there?
I don't have that. I just looked at aerial view and talked to the engine company at Station 15. A lot of guys have been out here for a while, very familiar with it. It sounded like there wasn't water in the tanks, right, during the incident. And even if there was, it's probably gravity fed right underground to the hydrant, and it's a 2.5 inch, right, which you have friction loss. It's not the big 4 inch or 4.5 with pressure, right? No pump, anything like that. So it's going to be a trickle, if anything. Even the tanks were full, if the GPM is not going to be sufficient enough to suppress a structure fire in that area, in my opinion.
Now, are you seeing too? I want to get your opinion. Hoarding and trash and junk and stuff. Is that creating fuel for the fires?
Absolutely. Any kind of combustibles is gonna add fuel to the fire. No pun intended. But, and that, so the amount of water doesn't take all that stuff into the calculations as well. So absolutely, we call it yard art, right? If you have a lot of that stuff, it's definitely gonna contribute to fire intensity, fire spread, embers, right, for your exposures and different things like that. So it definitely is an issue. You know, code compliance is definitely a big help with that. If we can get them involved, that would definitely help with some of those issues.
Perfect. No, thank you, because we can definitely make some calls to try to get increased patrols by them as well, so. Okay.
So yeah, and honestly, to get the infrastructure out there for what's already built, I don't think would be a reasonable increase on the constituents, right? I think it's gonna be. It would be astronomical, the increase in the water rates, right, to compensate for the build out of infrastructure. So again, maybe tanks, you can come together, like you said, grants would be a great idea. You know, Annie knows more about grants and stuff than I do, but I think that might be a possibility for you guys to look at.
Because I think what's going to happen is out where I live, I'm just a mile too far from a fire station, so I had to find an insurance company that would, and I have a fire hydrant right outside of my property. But I think after this year is up and the grant, you know, the reprieve the state's given the insurance companies, I think their rules are going to change and the rates are going to go skyrocket. You don't have water sources to get the insurance out there.
Wow. Anyone else got any questions for these guys?
I have a question. As far as the residential tanks, do they need to have hoses available, or is that something that you guys? And then, what size?
Well, it depends. If you're just putting it in to put in, right? I would recommend a 4-inch national standard connection.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the easiest for our engines to hook up to. Just
Okay.
supply the engine with water and go direct to the engines. If you wanted to look at NFPA 22, it's the standard on water tanks. If you're just putting it in, so you have a fire protection water, you wouldn't need to adhere to NFPA 22, but it would give you some guidelines as to what is recommended as an industry standard.
Do you, just off the top of your head, know how many homes are in that community? Like, gotta be 80 at least.
Yeah, I just kind of looked at that one grid, right, and there was 10 there, and then south of Sweester you have more, so between, what is that, 65th?
And 60th.
And 60th and 65th, right, yeah, there's quite a few homes, right? So it would be the same, it's gonna be the tanker shuttle, right, the guys know, they'll start the water tender, the closest one is coming from Tehachapi, so they'll bring that down, right, but that's also a delay to get that here, so.
You know, what scares us, we're getting into the 4th of July, and no matter what we say, you know, we lost a couple homes last year for fireworks. People just don't get it out.
Right.
Question, what do you folks think would be the best way, this is a long-term conversation, what would be the best way to get it started? Because part of the things I always hear, I live out there for a reason. I want to be around city folk type stuff. What would be the best way that we could start getting people, getting a conversation started so that we could, you know, talk to them in a way that they understand the dynamics of, I don't want any more emergencies, but I also don't want to go over here and come at them from, they've done something wrong, because I know people like to hide behind water rights and grandfather, and that's their two big protective shields. But on the flip side of it, having been retired from law enforcement, I worry about the public safety side. If you guys run out there, that hose goes dry, your guys in the backyard or whatever with no water or whatever, that's bad circumstances. And that, so my argument is, I think we need more firefighters here in our community. But the community needs, and you said it could be expensive, well, no, at some point, but I keep thinking, everything we do has a price to it. And if we're going to ask to be safe, we gotta be willing to, you know, put up the money to be safe. And if it's, you know, grants, or you said maybe, you know, we could ask you about, you know, how to go about these things, maybe ask the Office of Emergency Services for the state, but I think we gotta stop hiding behind what we can't do, because we're talking about people's lives and well-being. And I don't know how many people went down to the city and saw what those fires went through, but I don't know how we rebound. And I would hate for us to have the beginning conversation and we didn't get a whole bunch done because either people are lackadaisical or they don't want to be that one person. But I think maybe making us uncomfortable as a community is going to be the catalyst for getting us started pushing things forward, sir.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that everybody views it like that, right? You know, a lot of people do move out of that area, they want to be left
Yes, sir.
alone and they're kind of to themselves and stuff like that. So I think instead of, you know, treating it as it could injure us or something like that, I think the conversations to have with the community is protecting their own interests. They work hard for what they have. Just a little bit of water goes a long way, right? We can protect your home, we can protect your neighbor's home, and water's the key. You know, I think that's where you start with the conversations. I think, you know, that's just my opinion.
You guys are obviously aware of Squad 15, the addition of the 6 firefighters we put out here. So we've seen great success with that as far as response times and availability of fire resources. There's still gaps in the armor, and that's the nature of the beast with the large response area and rural fire protection. But you know, it's not lost on us. We have other growth plans with the department to further improve our coverage areas.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Can I get your names again? Sorry.
Sure. I'm Andy Kennison.
Kennison?
N-N-I-S-O-N.
And Sean Riley.
Right, perfect. No, like I said, you guys last year, I grew up out here, been out here 40 years, never seen the fires as bad as they were last year all around. So, I mean, you guys are heroes. I mean, you kept us safe. My wife, we were watching the air tankers right across the field from our house drop retardant. I mean, that's how close they got out where we were at. So, we appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you guys. I am going to go out of order here, and we're going to actually go to guest speaker next. That way, if she has to go back to Bakersfield, we don't have to keep running longer than we need to. Miss Kim?
Yes. Hi, I'm Kimberly Baldwin. I am with Kern County Public Works, and I just wanted to kind of go over our MyKern app. Our Kern County is responsible for over 3,000 miles of road. We don't have the staff to drive those roads all the time, and we depend on the public to let us know when there are problems so that we can address those issues. One of the ways you can do it is with the MyKern app, and it's available for an Android or an iPhone. You open the app, you go down a list of things that you can and report it to us. They're going to ask for your information so that you, as the community member, you are informed of everything that is happening with that complaint. So you know when it gets referred to another agency, you know if it's completed. You are part of the solution to the huge problem that we have, which is knowing where everything is at all times. So one of the things that I do want to address, Public Works, our maintenance department, we only handle things that are in the county's right of way. If something is on private property, it does have to be reported to code compliance. If you do it in the MyKern app, it will just get referred to code compliance. So it's best to just directly speak to code compliance. If you're unsure of something, whether it's on private property or if it's in if it's county responsibility, you guys can always call us. You can call me directly. I have a few business cards. I can let you know if it's something that you should report to code compliance or something that you can report using the MyKern app. The MyKern app we have almost doubled the amount of requests that we get every month since we started this MyKern app, and we would not have been able to do it without the public's help. So it's a very, very easy app to use. I'm really not tech savvy, and I can use the app. I have it on my work phone, I have it on my personal phone. If I'm driving somewhere and I see a street light out or a street sign that is down, I will take a picture of it, send it in, and for the most part, we get a fairly immediate response during business hours. So the MyKern app has been a really good tool for us as the county and for you as the community. So there are some
cards. They're called reporter problem cards. If you're not, if you don't want to use an app, most people don't, you can still go onto our website and click on a link to report the problem, and it will take you to the app, but through our website. So I do have some cards here. There are in English and Spanish. Please take them to business owners, take them to your family members. Let them know that there is a way for them to report problems, and then to also be notified when those problems are being solved. So that app works for us, and we want it to work for you. So please use it,
Yeah, we
and
use that
please
app.
tell people about it.
Yeah, we use it a lot.
Good, I'm glad.
I can honestly say, Kim, usually if your guys are out here, it's within 24 to 72 hours.
Yes.
I'm getting an email that it's been cleaned up, and you guys are doing a phenomenal. I just wish we could lower the amount of stuff you guys are picking up each
I
month.
know, and sometimes it's a double-edged sword for us when somebody dumps something and we clean it up. They think, oh, well, look at that, that's magic. Let's just dump it again. But that doesn't always happen. And again, we aren't everywhere. You guys are, and so we can't do this without your help.
No, it's a phenomenal lab. You've got a great staff. To give them
We do.
our kudos out here. They do a great job cleaning
Yeah,
up.
our
for us.
rapid crews are, it is amazing the amount of things that they pick up on the sides of the road. Even our code compliance, when it's on private property, we have been using ARPA funding to try and pay for some illegal dumping on private property, like especially out in the desert. You can't secure your property in the desert. It's just too much. And so we have been really using funding to help pick up some of that stuff too. So code compliance can go on private property and do cleanups. But again, code compliance is the same as it's the same for them. They have, I think, 8 officers. They can't be everywhere. They only know about something if you guys tell us about it. So please report it. Don't ever feel like I report, this is the 30th thing I've reported this month. That's okay. That's what it's there for. So don't ever feel like you're reporting too many things. Please report everything. And we will do everything that we can to address every single one of those.
Right, and I don't know what else we can do. You guys are great partnering with Waste Management. They're awesome. We have the bulky days. We have all the free dump. I mean, it's out here. It's frustrating.
And it's not just out here. It's it is in Bakersfield. It's in every outlying area. It isn't just here. Education is one thing. We've tried keeping landfills open longer. That doesn't really help. I think sometimes some people will just illegally dump. Right now we have the resources to pick it up, and so let us know, we'll come out and get it. Yeah.
I have a question. In situations where we see hoarding stuff, is there any funding to help those people clean their
So if it's inside their house, we typically don't go inside the house. If their hoarding has surfaced outside of their home, there are housing regulations that say they have to keep their yards free of debris and junk, and that is a code compliance case. As far as funding to help with hoarding, I'm not sure if there is. I don't believe we have funding for that. But the ARPA funding that we use to clean up litter, they can hire people to help with cleanups. They have been able to do that recently. I don't know how much longer we'll have that ARPA funding. I believe it's through the end of this year, and then we can apply for additional funding. But we don't ever want somebody to feel like it's hopeless. So if somebody needs help, reach out to us, and there may be something we can do, there may not be something we can do, but if we're aware of the problem, then we can try to figure out a way to help.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. All right, we are gonna go to new business. So first, we've been discussing adding a student member to the RMAC board. We've been kind of waiting on some guidance from supervisor's office. Perfect, thank you, Joel. Go ahead and give us some info on that.
So I went to the supervisor's office and spoke with Mike Herrera, the chief of staff, And what they're wanting to do is, we told them that, first of all, we need to make a decision here, whether we wanted a non-voting or a voting, and I think we discussed that a little bit at our last meeting. Once we do that, it would go in front of the Board of Supervisors for a change in our bylaws and the county ordinance. And then what the supervisor was wanting is basically, it's set up right now. We have county commissions. You get online, you fill out your application. That's how he wants to handle it with the students. The students would get on there and apply online, and then he would probably see guidance from us, and then he would make the ultimate decision on who we'd appoint as a student. But we gotta vote on whether we want to go through with having a student member on our board, and then once that's done, some ordinance changes need to happen at the Board of Supervisors, and then it'll be a done deal.
Okay. Well, so I mean, does anyone discuss that? Anyone have any thoughts on if you want that board member to be voting or not? I mean, I have thoughts, but I'd like to hear you guys first, or I'll go, whatever you want. So just because we've had meetings in the past and get really heated, I would not want a minor to be a voting member, because I would not want anyone in the public thinking they can intimidate that minor. And we've had people show up pretty upset about different things that have been voted on. I think that's something we should expose them to without necessarily letting them be at risk of experiencing.
That's a good point. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Everyone's looking at, I think from a fair standpoint, let's get them involved in the process, because one of the things I made this comment before, the only people get involved in something is being involved in it.
Yes.
But you're right, Chair, we should not burden a person getting yelled at behind a vote.
No, I agree.
But I think having that person involved, then that person in years to come could become, a seated adult member.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good start on it. What I would say that we do, let's get on it now. School is out now. I would love to have something ready when school comes back in session, that we could get it to the school district and let them know about it. So be it 10 kids or 100 kids, at least get that process started, because we've talked about it several weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that we're kind of putting some finish to it, I think we need to jump on this and get it done sooner than later to have it ready for, well, school started in August?
Second week of August.
Yeah, August.
If we could get it done by then maybe September at the latest to have that ready, we can have someone perhaps seated
Here in September.
Yeah, September.
Yeah, we got somebody seated in September.
So I can agree with that.
Because you could put it with the packet. Oh, schools have packets, right? You can probably put the application with
Yeah,
that.
we would, they'd have to apply online.
Yeah, play online.
But you can put like a flyer or something.
Yes, yeah.
Tell them
there.
about it.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah, we would ask you to maybe help us with that.
Yeah.
But I think, the non-voting part, and getting the position descriptor out, if we can work on that between now and the next meeting, that'd be ideal to have ready to go to the supervisor's office so they can start the process.
Well, so Michael is looking for something specific. Do you want to make a motion that'll tell him what we want, what we're willing to ask for on that, voting or non-voting?
Yeah, I can do the motion I'd like to put before the board here is that we move forward with the student member, however, it'd be a non-voting position, and that the wording in it, as far as the description, would be what we currently do, and it just wouldn't have the voting responsibility.
All right, then second.
A second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Perfect, so we'll go ahead and do that. Let's reach out to them, Joel, and let them know what we're looking for on that. I think it's a great idea. I guess the only other question we would have is, what would that term look like for that student? 9 months, 10 months until the next student, the next year?
I think if you look at it,
And we do it every September?
well, it'd be the school
The school year?
The school
Okay.
year. I mean, because you figure we wouldn't want one student to occupy all that time.
Correct.
And that way you get more people involved in the process. So I'd like to amend the motion to add the timeline there, and that would be 1 year for the school term.
The school term?
Yeah, for 1 year, from what the day they're selected, if that goes into 1 year. I'd like to add that to the motion.
Right.
I mean,
Second.
amend the motion to add the timeline.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I second.
2 seconds. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Perfect.
I'm just gonna change the wording of that.
Yeah. That's exciting. We've talked about this for a couple years now.
It's about time somebody got on board with it, huh?
It's about time we've had enough people to be.
Just giving Joel a chance to catch it. Item is we actually have meeting minutes from March that need to be approved. If anyone's looked at those, anyone wants to make a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the meeting, the minutes from the, March 2020. Yeah, this says 24, so.
With the correction of the
Yeah,
year.
so I'd like to make, first of all, that we correct the meeting, to 2025, March 20th, 2025. I'd like to make the motion for that there, and that it's, that we approve the minutes with the correction of the, year there.
Second,
A second?
all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Meeting minutes are approved. And then lastly, Joel has come up with this beautiful idea, to host a national night out, where we would need other community members and other boards to support us. What do you guys think of that idea? And does everyone know what national night out is?
No.
Okay.
Who would like to explain it?
Rick, you wanna?
Rick, yeah, give us a rundown. So National Night Out is a national law enforcement movement that is here to build relationships with communities. Rick can just kind of share out what it is about.
Well, I think the good part about it, I know down in the city where I worked, it was a big to-do. I think if this is the first time we're doing it, you basically invite law enforcement. In our case, you have the CHP and the sheriffs. They come out and, historically it's been that, but I think as small as this community, I would even encourage us to think about having a fire department. This is kind of in the hall ambulance. These are the people that take care of us. Unlike the big cities, they got everybody. I mean, those are the four entities that kind of take care of us: the fire department, the CHP, the sheriffs, and the
Search and rescue?
yeah, perhaps even them. But anyway, you come out, and it's a national thing. It's a big to do. But I think if it's something we're going to do, we need to get on it.
Yeah, we are.
On a timeline.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be something for us to definitely consider, and we could look at making that a yearly occurrence.
So, I mean, obviously, that's not something that RMAC is designed to sponsor. If we could have be part of it, we can support it, of course. Which organization would you guys think is most prepared to?
So we are working on, been talking to Karen, is I'm gonna reach out to the chamber, and then, we're gonna see about maybe RMAC under the auspices of the second district hosting. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
We have options.
Okay. Well, I don't know that we're ready to, I mean, we definitely know that we want to host one. So the next step would be for us to reach out to one of the or other organizations. So Joel, do you want to write a letter and we would then send to all the other boards and then out?
If
Or
we
do you
could,
want the chamber to do that?
if we could get, how we could word the, I don't know how we'd word the motion. We can't wait till another meeting. We gotta get
No,
going.
we gotta get going.
So,
Would you like to?
make a motion that we reach out to other organizations and be part of putting on a national night out. So that way we can start working on getting,
I think you're
reach
gonna
out to
get,
see.
I think you're gonna get more traction doing that, to reach out to the other organizations. Not to say that the supervisor wouldn't be
Right.
interested in helping, but he's not gonna want to be the
No.
lead.
Because in the past, there's always been,
You don't do that.
we don't.
You're an advisor
It's,
council.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well,
So,
I understand that, and RMAC could certainly be the sponsor or the lead agency, or lead entity, for lack of a better description, for something like National Night Out, because we are in an unincorporated area that is governed by a county, not by a municipality, and there's, sheriff's department's not gonna have the manpower to do that.
No.
So yeah, RMAC could definitely.
You know what, I forgot, we got the expert Josh. You've been
There
hearing
you
our
go.
conversation. Do you see any problem, legality wise with RMAC sponsoring a national night out, having our name be the main group on, as an advisory council, hosting something like that?
More of a community event, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if the supervisor is okay with it, I don't think.
He said the supervisor's okay with RMAC doing it.
If
I will verify that, but I'm pretty sure that the supervisor would be okay with it.
We have some inroads with the chamber, so I think we'll be okay if we can get them to help us too.
Yeah, I mean, you guys will figure out the logistics and if there's, you know, necessary insurance like that. Take care of that.
I think that would be the main ingredient, would be that insurance, yeah.
So, all right. Hey, thanks, Josh. So I'd like to make a motion that we research all our options and move forward with putting the ball in, putting it in motion to having a national night out, whether we're part of it or we sponsor it.
Okay, so we need to decide now like what that looks like as far as just speaking from a timeline thing. So we're just reaching out to another organization. I mean, it's going to be an insurance thing that another organization can take care of.
Right.
So let's just start looking for move forward. Let's see who wants to take the lead on it. Let's go. So what's your motion?
Motion that we move forward on
Seeking community
involvement
and sponsors for National Night Out.
Yep.
Any
I'll
second?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, that sounds good to me. That'll be fun. I like National Night Out. That's one of my favorite events. All right. Lastly, we have director referrals and comments. We're going to start at the end of the director web.
First of all, I'm glad the fire department, good to see you folks here. I know this is your busy season, so to see two captains here helping us out, I appreciate it there. County, thank you guys for coming out. I will say this, Joe, this is a compliment to you in regards to this. Joe, I always call him the James Brown Community Services because he goes about getting people here for us, and thank you very much for that. And folks, thank you for showing up. The DUI checkpoints, what do you have to say about that? That keeps people safe. And that your Durango, I saw him in action.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I saw him in action. That's pretty impressive. Let's hope it gets the job done and that they don't make it a bad tool, they make it a workable tool. And folks, everybody that came out, thank you. Karen, good to see you again too. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Director McCardle?
Yes, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to be here tonight and putting their input in. Thank you.
Director
And
McKay?
it's good to see everyone.
No, I just want to shout out to Karen. Karen takes my calls. She doesn't hang up on me. I keep her busy. All my ideas I come up with. In fact, we were in Cal City earlier this morning dealing with animal control issues, and we're going to be going up to Bakersfield talking about that. And there's always a fire to put out. And the big hurdle and I call her, first thing I say, I know I'm speaking to the choir, is the pool issue was the big issue for the community.
Oh my gosh.
And once we got that pool open, all our problems seem to go away here in the community. Some of our problems seem to go away.
There's an anonymous community member that is not letting that go.
Anonymous, I know who it is.
It's very obvious things that you really do, you know.
So that is all I've got, and then one of the things I've been seeing, and I've been trying to stay off of and keeping sitting on my hands when I get to certain social media pages. I hate one of my pet peeves of people putting our town down without coming up with solutions. They want to complain, but they don't want to bring anything to the table to help with the problem. And I've got to sit on my hands and remember I have a filter and I can't speak my mind on social media, but
love it or leave it.
yeah. So that is, like I said, that's my pet peeve of the day is I don't mind complaints, but bring a solution to the table and like one of the biggest things I want to another shout out to Karen. A problem was brought up to me that we were going to lose our school summer lunch program, and because there was no buildings, the library was closed, and Karen was able to secure the Glendower building, and unbeknownst to us, there was a little AC. And first thing they get on social media is complain, well, couldn't you guys found a better location? I got on there and I just told them, I said, we're lucky to have the program. This was a last minute building. We didn't know there was an AC. We're going to get it fixed. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. But, Karen, like I said, I think Roseman, we could keep her busy full time here just in Roseman with the supervisors. But she has a huge area to cover. So thank you, Karen.
Sure, you're welcome, thank you.
I'm good. Ditto. You guys all summed up my thoughts very well. Thank you. started the meeting. Usually we have a lot of community organizations normally here. Holiday weekend, unfortunately, kind of kicked us in the butt for that. Thank you though for coming. The MedCare app is awesome. I'm one of the biggest users on that. The guy in the truck texts me now. He's like, Kelly, the app didn't register where it is. Can you direct me on how to find it? He at least a couple times he's done that. So thank you for that. Thank you. I voiced my concern to you in the beginning. My son wants to be a firefighter here. Tell Chief Duncan that that he needs an Explorer program here. So, all right, that's it. I appreciate everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right.